All right, welcome back, everybody. So we are now reverting back to the very beginning. So we already went over chapter 1. So chapter 2 is basically an introduction of the sales process. Now, of course, the customers are going to be involved with the sales process. We're going to be learning on how to record a sale. There's 2 types of sales that we can do. And we're also going to take a look at how we actually can create a customer. Now, because we got to take a good look at our first example, which was looking at how to set up a vendor, okay? So therefore, since we know how to set up a vendor, the customer is similar, if not identical. The only difference here is instead of, you know, specifying specific taxes or specific things for a customer, we're still going to be looking at how they make payments, what other things that they can do. But as far as registering them or creating a customer profile, or in this case, a just a customer, right, is, like I've mentioned before, similar if not identical to entering in a vendor. Now, once again, I've mentioned before last week that once we start looking at creating one transaction, everything after that's going to look similar. It's going to look very uniform, as in, like, the only difference is just what it says at the very top. But filling out the whole form will look similar throughout every single transaction that you do. Okay, so once again, if you're going to be following along with me, make sure you have this Sales 18 workbook. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So just exactly like how the book describes that there are cash vendors and credit vendors, same thing applies here as well, right? You're always going to run into your cash customers, right? The customers that come into the store and they buy something and they decide to either give you some form of payment, such as cash, credit card, check, an EFT, right? Electronic funds transfer, right? However, they pay you at the time of service, or sale, okay? And that's going to be your cash, your cash people. Now, the credit people, or your credit customers, right, they're going to be the ones that owe you the money. So they buy something from you and they decide to pay you on an account, or they decide to pay you at a later date. Okay, and we're going to take a look at how we record those 2 separate people in QuickBooks, okay? But first of all, we need to go ahead and practice our very, very first thing, which is entering in our customer into QuickBooks, okay? But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at our graphic depiction of a sales process. So now that we got to take a brief look at a small section up at the very top of QuickBooks, now we're going to be focusing on the middle section where you could see the sales process. So as you can see, if we do estimates, okay, or also known as sales orders, right? The next thing is we either process an invoice, okay? And when we process our invoice, we could follow along through that we have to receive a payment, all right? And then once we receive a payment, we can follow through and we end up in our records deposit section, okay? Right? Or we could create sales receipts, right? And that will automatically go to our record deposits. So this right here is going to be a summary of what we need to do when we're looking at customers and how we record our sales, right? And so we're going to be focusing on this part of the transaction, the top part right here, okay? Tomorrow, we're going to go ahead and take a look at how we can create statements for our customers, how we charge additional fees with them, and we're also going to take a look at how we can write off bad debt. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. Wednesdays because tomorrow there's no class. But we're going to be taking a look at the second half of the section here under the customers on Wednesday. Okay? But let's go ahead and focus on the first thing, which is entering a new customer. So we talked about the customer center, right? So if we click on this tab right here that says customer, it takes us straight to the customer center, just identical to entering in the vendor center right through the homepage, right? Instead of clicking on here, we click on the tab right here that says vendors. Okay. So again, it's going to be very, very similar. So the customer center, this time it's going to be clicking on the customers tab. You can also access the customer center on the icon bar because this is defaulted on here. So if you scroll, you're going to see that you're going to have your customers right here. Okay, that's going to take you straight to the customers center. And then, of course, last but not least, if we go at the very top of the menu bar under customers, first thing you see should be the customer center. Okay, so there are a total of 3 ways that you could enter the customer center. The home page, right? You click on that tab. The icon bar, you click on the customer's icon. And then you have the menu bar at customers menu bar. At the very first one is your customer center. So once again, when you take a look at your customer center, it looks like the vendor center, right? You have your list of all of your customers in alphabetical order, okay, on the left side. Then on the right side, you have a little, summary of their overall profile, right? It has their customers' information, such as their name, their address, okay? And of course, down below is going to be a list of all of the transactions that exist between you and that customer. So let's go ahead and take a look at Maria Cruz, right? Okay, because QuickBooks is taking the date as of today, right? We're fast forward in 2021. We need to toggle this section right here to allow us to take a look at how we can see all the transactions. So just by clicking this and clicking that the date is going to be all, you can see that this is all the transactions that are involved with this customer. Therefore, there's 3 outstanding invoices and it totals up to a total of $19.50. Okay. So as you can see, if we scroll down through our list of customers, we have quite a few people that owe us money. We got Bob Mason, we got Miranda's Corner, and that's it. Okay. Oh, and then we also have these 2 people here for the Anderson wedding. Okay. So like I said, QuickBooks is just going to make everything look pretty much similar to make it much more easier to enter in a transaction. So if they make the vendor center and the customer center the same, what is it to say that the employee center will not look any different? Okay, same thing with entering a bill. If we enter a bill, entering a sales receipt, an invoice, they're all going to look similar, if not identical to each other. Okay, so that's the great thing about QuickBooks is uniformity, right? Making everything look similar to make it easier for you to just fill it out and make it easier to record a transaction. Okay, so here we are, we're at the customer center, right? And like I've mentioned before, just like how we did the vendors, it's identical to how we can create a new customer, right? You either create a new customer by going up to the very top of the tab and click on new customer / job, okay? So we talked about customer jobs, right? Job costing. So this is where you can actually create one as well. But in this case, like the book mentions, right? Job costing only entails assigning either income or expenses to a particular customer. All right, and we'll take a look at that in when we create our invoices. Okay. So that's that section right there, right? You can also right click on anywhere on, cancel, sorry. You can right click anywhere on the customer list and you'd be able to create a new customer right then and there, okay? Since I am already there, let's go ahead and create a new customer, okay? And here is the form to create the new customer. All right. So first we're going to enter in the very top section, which is the person's name. Now it's very important that you know this, that as well, that if you type in the name here, right, what's going to happen is this is what's going to show up on your customer list. If there's a specific way that you are organizing your customer list is exactly how you want it to appear on the customer list, is how you want to type it in. Now, of course, if you don't type anything in here and as you just fill out the bubbles here, it will automatically create the name above here, like we've seen before. Okay, but yeah, so I'm gonna leave it I'm gonna fill everything in and then just leave it as is, and then I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to just go ahead and just edit that information afterwards. So once again, now the next section is what date did you have this customer for, or when did you create this customer? When did this customer become an actual customer? So in this case, you can toggle the date. It's not necessary unless you are dealing a transaction that happened in the past. But I believe this customer became our customer as of January 1st of 2019. So once again, this is only pertinent to you if you are actively placing in all of your sales forms and whatever, transactions when you're dealing with these customers prior, or in the past. But in this case, I'm going to do it because that's what the book says, that this person has been with us since 2019, the beginning of 2019. Okay. So once again, a vendor can also be a customer, right? We've mentioned that before. However, most customers, they're more likely not going to have a, company name. So you can go ahead and just skip that little bubble there. I believe this guy is a doctor. Okay, he's a doctor, so you're going to address him as doctor. And his name is Tim, middle initial, S. Come on, G. Okay, there you go. Tim S. Fang. Okay. And like I've mentioned before, the minute that you fill this piece of information in, it pops up right here as Tim S. Fang. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and save this profile and check out how my customer list is going to be in order, it's in order based on last name, comma, first name. So in this case, like I've mentioned before, if that's the way that you're going to organize your customer list, then follow through and type in exactly how it appears on how it should appear on your customer list. So in this case, like I mentioned before, this name right here is going to appear on your customer list, while everything else that you fill out is going to be whatever you want to fill out. So if this guy is Timothy, but your customer wants you to address him by Tim, you may do so by placing it as Tim Fang in the customer list. Okay, but there you go. I made the changes because it's supposed to be last name, comma, first name. Okay. All right. Now, next thing is job title. Okay. Now, this is kind of weird because if he doesn't own a company, what kind of job title would he have? In this case, the book addresses him as a owner. Now, we never mention what company he belongs to. Okay, so what can he be an owner of? So I kind of thought that was kind of funny how the book decided to put that in there. You can always leave it blank, like I've mentioned before, right? He's probably the owner of his own person, right? But in that case, if there's no need to address anything if there's no company name. Okay. So then next is going to be the address. Okay. So I believe Mr. Tim lives. Okay, let's see where he lives. He lives on 300 North 1st Street.
That is where the phone goes. Phone number.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. Phone number, I think it's 408-555 9268. Oop. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so there's the phone. Does he have a work phone, mobile phone, fax phone? I think no. Okay, so he only has one phone. Okay. And then his email is doctor, so drf at df.biz. Okay, so your customer could have any type of email, right? It doesn't have to be a business email, right? It could be a Gmail at Yahoo, whatever it is, right? Because they're just your customer. It doesn't matter what information they give you. Okay. So once I have that, of course, no website. So here is where I type in the address. So he lives on, or at least his address that he gave us is going to be 300 North 1st Street. Okay. I believe he's from San Jose.
Yes.
Okay.
95136.
Perfect. Okay. And then once again, right? We have the option to be able to enlist that the address that he gave us or that he signed up with the company with is going to be same thing as his shipping information. Okay. So you may click that copy button. Now here's the thing. Customers can definitely have multiple types of addresses, right? A lot of customers can ship gifts to other people. Okay. In this case, this address is going to be home 1. And I'm going to click OK, right? Everything looks good, right? It's the same exact location, the 300 North 1st Street at San Jose. And I'm going to click OK. But here you can choose the options to have your customers have multiple addresses. So once again, right? If they're sending a gift to somebody, they could put their friend's address instead of your address, right? Most cases, if you're shipping things to other people, you're gonna be needing another address, right? Or in most cases, if you do anything online, you have the option: is your shipping address separate than your billing address, or is your billing address the same as your shipping address? And you can therefore you could toggle yes or no. Okay, so the first one could be the billing address, and the second one could be the actual shipping address that you choose to do. So once again, you can hold up to as many addresses per person because you can, every customer can send other people things as well. Or maybe they have, a home address at home, right? Where they live with their parents. Or if they have an apartment so over here, or maybe they want to send it to their business location. Whatever reasons or addresses they want to ship the item to, wherever it is, they will let you know, and you can save this information so then the next time they decide to ship something out, right, you hold their information in there automatically. Okay, so in this case, I indicated this is home address number 1, right? Okay, and of course you could also save it as a default address. So every time you like click on them, you can click on the default address, okay? So now that that first section is done, once again, if you've like I've mentioned a couple times too, you can create this customer as inactive. So once again, there's that hidden little thing that you'll notice that the inactivate the customer is right here on at the actual creating the profile for it. Okay, it's right here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the next section, which is going to be payment methods. Okay. So first off, we got to understand that this account number is going to be the account number that you provide for this customer, okay? So I believe the account number here is 3546, okay? And then here we can talk about the limit. Now, of course, every customer that you decide to give you can create a customer limit for, okay? Because you don't want them to owe you so much money to the point where they can't pay you back. So in this case, because your services already are almost $100 each, therefore, you need to set some kind of credit limit with them, okay? And of course, the credit limit is also going to be based on their Social Security, right? Once you do run a background report for their credit score to see if they do pay on time, then the credit limit can be more than whatever you decide it is. It can be predetermined by running their credit score, right? If they can only afford $500, then they can only afford $500. So in this case, I'm Mr. Tim S. Fang. He can have a credit limit of $8,000. Okay, and then here's going to be price levels. Once again, we talked about price levels, right? We talked about how you can separate your customers based on, what kind of area to provide our goods or service to. So we have, like, for example, like commercial, residential, things like that, right? Where you can choose to charge your customers a specific price level. In this case, I only have one, right? I click that drop-down menu and I only have one. So he is a commercial type of customer, okay? All right. Then we're going to go ahead and look at payment terms. In this case, for this customer, the book says I don't give them any discount, but there should be a discount I do give them. It should be the 2%. But your book tells me that I don't give this customer any discount at all. Okay. And then, of course, preferred method of the method of payment is this time we're going to go ahead and validate that he is a Visa user. Okay. Preferred email or whatever to send the invoice over is email. Now, once again, there it is, Visa. Okay, so once I've entered this in here, right, the next section is going to be holding the credit card information. So exactly like if you've ever gone online, right, and you enter in your credit card information for the first time, you can always save it. So the next time you use that exact website, the information is saved automatically and you just, enter in your security code at the back of your credit card just to validate that you are authorizing the use of this credit card, and boom, it goes right through. So you want to actually, in this case, you can hold your customer's information. And this is exactly why, the reason that you should definitely keep your books locked up, because once again, if someone has hands on this particular QuickBooks file, they have access to any customer that you decide to hold all of their credit card information in. And that's sensible data. And once again, you definitely don't want someone to hack into your computer and have control of every single person's account, especially when they hold credit card information, right? But of course, you can do it. The only thing that you cannot save ever is going to be the security code on the back of the credit card, right? That is used to authorize the transaction. Okay, you can never save that. So here's a few information that we need to type in. Is going to be the credit card number. So once again,
Can you repeat that one more time? You said we could never say what?
the security code on the back of the credit card. It's like the SCV.
The CVV?
Yeah, that one. The credit card number. You can never say that, those 3-digit numbers, because that is going to be how the customer can verify the authorization to use your credit card. Now, what I've noticed a lot nowadays, that a lot of the credit card transactions don't actually ask for that anymore. The only person that asks for that if you do a phone, like in phone call payment over online or over the phone, excuse me, and they'll ask for those security code, because they have to validate that you authorized the permission to charge that amount. So you can never save that 3-digit on the back of the credit card. But you can save the credit card information. So here the card number, I believe, is 1234 1234 1234 1234. Right? Expiration date is going to be expiration date is going to be expiration
01
2020. Okay, 2020. Now, it may give you an error code that the person's credit card information needs to be updated, but that's okay. Tim S. Fang, right? Good. That's his name on his credit card. Okay, address, right, should be the same as your what you've originally placed in there. But here's the thing here. Now, the address, right, could be different than the actual address here, but it's just, QuickBooks is just finding an easy way to just fill the information for you. I didn't have to do anything. I just clicked on there and it filled in there automatically. Okay, so here I validated this is for sure the correct information. Okay, so then again, now you can see right here it says, can I save the credit card security code? No, absolutely not. Okay. Other things too here is taking a look at online forms of payment. So we've mentioned before that if you decide to have a website and they can purchase things online, then you're going to go ahead and validate whether you do accept credit card payments or EFTs, okay? Or do you prefer the bank transfer? Like, once again, most cases it's a credit card, but once again, if you do have a credit card, which we get to see later on today, you are subject to have to pay either a percentage of your sales, or you must agree some kind of flat rate, because again, these credit card companies are your debt collectors. They are the ones that's taking the accounts receivable for you, and they're paying in advance for you, right? And that means they take the debt upon themselves as the debt collector, and that means the customer is responsible to pay off the credit card company. So by doing that, they expect to have some kind of, agreement, like, hey, if I'm going to be helping you getting your money, I want to agree with some kind of percentage of your sales, okay? And we'll talk more about that when we reach that section later on, okay? So now the next thing is going to be looking at sales tax, okay? So sales tax code. We've mentioned this a little bit in the chapter 7, where your sales tax code, it could be either based on the individual or it could be based on what they purchase from us. So in this case, we're going to automatically assume that this person could potentially buy goods and services from us. So in this case, most likely you would provide your products to your customer, right? And plus, this is you can edit it upon which item that you do sell, which we've done before, right? When we enter in our items, we realize that a service item, you can't charge tax because it's a service, where all the products that you have is going to be based on, a tax thing that you have to charge. So in this case, we're going to assume that, right, we have a store, right? We have 2 stores, the San Jose location and the Walnut Creek. This person is going to be subject to be having to pay the in-store sales tax. Okay, so that's usually going to be exactly there and exactly which county or place that they belong to. Now in this case, he lives in San Jose, so therefore it's going to be automatic that every time we charge tax for this guy, it's going to be for the Contra Costa County. Okay, so I'm saving that information so then when I do fill out the sales form, I don't have to check mark which sales tax code I need to use. Okay, in this case, I'm saving the information as is in the person's profile. Okay, and of course, resale number. Once again, this is for if this person is another retailer, you have a resale number. Okay. And then last but not least, we can talk about additional information. Okay. So we've seen this before, right? Through our custom field section. In this case, for my customer, right, what kind of customer type do they belong to? So again, if you drop it down, right, here it's expanded to either wholesale, right, retail, referrers. So you may give discounts to those customers that refer other people to your services. Okay, but in this case, I believe it is a business person, and the sales representative is going to be Mr. Mike Mazowski. So once again, you can have a sales rep field here if you do plan to have your employees. So when you do set up, like if they do receive commissions, right, you can, or if this is their customer, then you can set that part apart and say, well, this is for Mike Mazowski, okay, or Mizuki, whatever his name is. And then we can go ahead and move on to custom fields. So once again, anything that you learned about the customer, right? You can apply up to only 7 custom fields for this particular person. So once again, he has county, but I think spouse's name should be very, very, very useful, especially when you're having conversations with them. How is your wife? Whatever her name is, right? Again, department, title, and review date, those are going to not be relevant to your customer. Okay. However, spouse's name is definitely going to be one of them, or should be one of them. It's information that you can find out about your customer. Okay. Even if they had a pet like a dog or something, right? You could go ahead and enter that information right there, that you learned that they like to talk about their dog all 24/7. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Click here. And then don't show this message again and click OK. So now we can take a look at the custom fields here. Oh, I guess I didn't save the pet name. I should have 3 custom fields under my... Oh, okay. Oh, I only have 2. I didn't do spouse's name. All right, and then click OK. So now I have 3. So first things first is, what county does it belong to? He belongs to
It says Santa Clara.
Santa Clara. Okay. What is his spouse's name? Since his name is Tina, I'm going to say his wife's name is Tina. Tim and Tina. Okay. Tina Fey. Okay. And then, of course, his pet's name is Oscar. I don't know. Oscar. Okay. So he has a dog named Oscar. All right. And then the last category is going to be job costing. So if there's a particular job that you do get due for Mr. Tim Fang, that's where this is you're going to fill out this information. Now, most cases, the job costing part, you can only assign income or expenses to a particular customer. Okay, so in this case, you don't really need to make a job for them unless this is like a consistent customer that buys or orders the same thing over and over again. So in this case, this is my first time having Tim as a customer. So in this case, I will not have a job or a, for Tim. Okay. Now that I finished everything on here, I can go ahead and click OK. And here he is. He appears right here. Okay. Just like the vendors, you can attach anything that's pertinent to the customer. All right. You could attach their copy of their license. Okay. For any reason that you need it, right? Especially when they use a credit card. You could do pretty much copies of anything, like maybe a screenshot of their face so you can recognize what they look like. Okay, so that's that right there. All right, any questions in regards to entering a new customer?
I do have a question really quick. So when we're putting in the customer info,
Mm-hmm.
and say for instance we go back over there and add another credit card, some new credit card information, or we need to update the address, how do we toggle back over to that field we just left from?
Okay, so there are a lot of ways you could do it, right? You can right click on them and be able to edit the information. So let's say the name, right? I misspelled his name. I can double click on them if I'd like to, and it will pop up that field. You can right click on them. Or another way you could do it is like when you're clicking, when you highlight their name in green, right? You have this little pencil icon right here. Now, that's usually an indicator on to edit the information. So I can edit, let's say he wants another shipping address. Okay, I can edit the information at any given time. Okay, or for example, if I do a quick add, which we will take a look at, you can add more details to anything that you've learned about your customer throughout the time that you have the customer for. So in this case, I can just go ahead and either double click on them, or I can edit anything that I need to edit. So like, for example, if his credit card expires, right, I can always go back and either edit that information or whatever it is, as long as I'm able to access it by right clicking on it, editing it, double clicking on it, or clicking that pencil icon. Okay. And I'm going to click OK. Even if when we're doing sales forms, right? And we're going to take a look at this too. When we do sales form and you edit a piece of information, you can automatically save it to their profile as soon as you enter in that transaction. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so once again, we talked a little briefly about what job costing does, and it's going to be more prevalent in Chapter 9 more so, because Chapter 9 allows you to see why we assign these people a task. chapter 8 as well. But once again, we usually assign them if we're, particularly buying a product for them. That would be an indicator of assigning them, so then it's like their name. But once again, it is like a small part of chapter 2, just because, right, it's you're tagging your customers to a particular bill or a particular invoice, or you want to invoice them for a particular job that you've done for them. Okay, so once again, it is very small here, just because the only idea is that we want to learn from here in the job costing is that that when you do job costing, it's assigning a customer. Okay, so that's just pretty much the little thing there. Okay. All right, so now we're going to be talking about recording our sales. So like I've mentioned before, there are 2 types of customers, right? We have our cash customers, people who pay at time of sale. Those ones, you're going to refer them to a sales receipt. Okay, just like when someone comes into the store, right? You're doing their transaction, you ask them, would you like a receipt? You rip it off of your cash register and you hand them the receipt. That is the same thing here in QuickBooks. We need to create them a sales receipt to tell them that a transaction has happened. All right, and you give it to your customer because they pay at time of the sale or service has been completed. Okay, whereas the other one is going to be setting an invoice, where an invoice is going to be. Can you excuse me for 1 second? All right, so we talked about how a sales receipt works, right? It's when your customers come in and they pay at time of sale, right? If they purchase something from our store, that's what you have to give them, is a sales receipt. Now, we talked about our credit customers, right? For those that want to place it on an account, or they have an account with us, or an account credit card, right? That's going to be something that you want to consider, is that you're probably going to be billing them an invoice, or you're going to be sending them some kind of statement of their transaction because they have an account with us, right? They have, like when we set up our customer for Tim Fang, he has an $8,000 credit limit with us. So therefore, they have up to $8,000 to purchase whatever item they want from our store. So in this kind of idea is they're not obligated to pay right then and there. They can choose to pay later, and that's how we separate the difference between an invoice and an actual in-store sale, okay? Or in this case, a sales receipt. So let's take a look at our very, very first person here. We're gonna go ahead and create a sales receipt for our very first transaction for Mr. Jerry Perez. Okay, so we talked about, let's see, there are six ways that you can enter in a sales receipt. Okay, so first one, always your number one is going to be your home page, because it's right there. It says create a sales receipt right here. Okay, if I click on it, this is exactly what the sales receipt form looks like. It looks exactly like a bill, right? It's got the customer at the top, it's got the class, it's got the date, and the sales receipt number, except the only difference here is that it gives you options on how the customer paid you. And other than that, it gives you the list of the items that they've purchased from you. Okay, so it's only slightly different, but once again, it's the same. It's similar to every single form that you are going to be creating. Okay, so that's one way, is by accessing it through the home page. The second one is going to be going up to your customers on the menu bar, and it's going to be create sales receipt. Okay, or sorry, in this case it says enter sales receipt right there. Okay. And then the other three ways are going to be first, you gotta be able to enter in your customer center. So I already talked to you 3 ways to enter the customer center, whether it's the home page, the icon bar, or the menu bar. Okay? So if you're able to go to your customer center, right, you'd be able to, first thing that you can see is at the very top of the window is that's next to adding a new customer, is going to be adding a new transaction. Okay, so in this case, if I click on transactions, or no, in this case, it's supposed to be up here, new customer, new transaction, right? Drop down menu, you could see that you can enter a sales receipt. Okay, that's always rule number, that's also number one when you're in the customer center. Okay. Another way that you can enter in a sales receipt is by right-clicking on that customer. Let's say I know this customer is going to purchase something from me. So therefore, I can right-click and I'd be able to enter in a sales receipt. Let me find it. Enter sales receipt right here. Okay? And of course, when you're on that particular vendor, right? Let's go ahead and pick on Tim Fang, right? I could go ahead and go to the manage transaction and also enter in a sales receipt here. Okay. So that was 5 ways. And of course, I'm going to also introduce you to the income tracker, which is one of the things I was going to talk about soon. But the income tracker, right, is going to pretty much be similar to the bill tracker. But this one's more geared towards your, actual invoices, because that's what an income tracker does, right? It keeps track of your invoices that you, it keeps all of your accounts receivable accounts here. So once again, a sales receipt doesn't really affect your accounts receivable. However, you're still able to enter it in because it's income. All right. It will not appear on your income tracker because it is, you're receiving cash at time of, when they pay for the product. So it doesn't really affect your accounts receivable. However, you could still enter it in through the income tracker. All right. So that's the 6 ways that you can enter in a sales receipt. Okay, so once again, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'm just going to go ahead and enter it in through the home page once again. So create sales receipt. Okay. So the person that I'm going to be sending or creating this sales receipt for is Mr. Jerry Perez. Now notice this, I'm typing in Perez and he doesn't even seem to exist. Like nope, I don't see him in here at all. Perez, comma, Jerry. Okay, I don't see him at all. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a quick add. All right, I could either click on that, or what I could do too is, so here I can enter his information right then and there. Or what I can do is, so let's type his name in one more time. Perez, comma, Jerry. And if I click the tab, it's going to ask me, do I want to quick add this person? And I said yes. So once again, you can either type it in and add him in and, fill out his information right then and there. Or you could choose to quick add him, like just add the name in there. And then you can edit the information later on. Add in his address, add in whatever information that you find pertinent to Mr. Jerry Perez. Okay? And I believe he belongs to the class or the store that we sold stuff to him was at the San Jose location store. Okay? Here's templates. So once again, we talked about templates. You can create a custom sales receipt form. You could do the Intuit one, but in this case, you can leave this part later because once again, you need to build your templates before you can use them. But most likely, you'll just use a standard one that they offer at Intuit. Okay. Now, once again, we talk about what are the different types of payments that a customer can pay you with, right? In this case, they could pay via cash, check. They could do a credit card transaction, which we'll get to take a look at in a few. They can even do an check, or also known as an EFT, which is an electronic funds transfer. Okay, they have those 4 ways that they can pay. Now, in this case, most common one, if they are a business type of ordeal, most likely you're going to be receiving a check. But again, if you are receiving cash because it's an in-store payment, then you just go ahead and select cash. Make sure you toggle when the date is. So in this case, like I've mentioned before, all of this stuff takes the date that you open up QuickBooks for. So it showed up today's date, which was May 3rd of 2021. In this case, it is January, I believe, 27 that I had this sale. And then your sales number could be any other number, right? Any number that you decide to create is going to create a sequence number. So in this case, the next time I do a sales receipt, it's going to automatically say, well, okay, if your first sales receipt that you enter in was 2019-1, the next one's going to be 2019-2. So it's going to recognize that you're assigning some kind of sequence number, right? And it's going to produce every sales receipt that you enter. It's going to be collated, right? It's going to be the next one is going to appear right after. Okay, so there it is. I type in my 2019-1, and let's see what Mr. Jerry Perez purchased from us. Okay, so here we're gonna take a look at what I need to fill in. So here, the first thing is my items, right? We got to take a look at items in chapter 7. So if I go ahead and click that drop down menu, these are the items that I can choose from, right? Whether I provided a service, whether I sold a product to that person. So inventory part, right? Once again, it's your actual items, like the product that you sell. Okay. And then you have other things like maybe you could charge other people as well. So in this case, right, I don't need to use my drop down menu. I can simply just type in outdoor, and what do you know? It automatically fills it in for me saying, okay, I think this is what you're typing in. So I have 2 options. I have outdoor photo shoot or I have out of state. Obviously, we're doing an outdoor photo shoot. Okay? And then as you can see, the sales tax code is a service. Okay? Now the quantity that we purchased that he purchased was 3 outdoor photo shoots. And as you can see, right, when we created our item in the first place, we designated a selling price, right? We designated a selling price, right? We said that every outdoor photo session is going to be $95. Exactly right here, right? And this, for any reason that you want to, you can always modify it and say this is $125, okay? For whatever you want to do, but in this case, I'm just going to keep it at $95, okay? And of course, so it automatically calculates it for you, right? If it's 3 of them at $95, it will automatically calculate what that total is going to be, okay? And I believe he also purchased a premium photo package right here, right? I just put in the first 3 letters and it automatically said, well, this is what you have the options for. So once again, just like adding in a customer at any given time, you can create your items at any given time. Okay? And that's why I was mentioning earlier, right? Therefore, right, when we associate all of our accounts and stuff, right? This is where that's why we would end up making mistakes. Because what if I didn't put premium photo package and I decided to put just a photo package, right? And there I don't see the one that I want exist. Then therefore I'll create a new item and then realizing that, oh wait, this item there already is an item that exists. So yes, you can have that option. But in this case, I see that it's already here, premium photo package, right? And of course, because this is a product, not a service, I'm going to get taxed for it. And he only ordered one, okay, for $85. So here it gives me my total, right, for that one item was $85. And then at the very bottom, it gives me a total cost. Now notice this. I have an out-of-state tax code. In this case, because he belongs to San Jose, he should be taxed at the Costa Costa tax. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Santa Clara. Excuse me. He needs to be charged at the Santa Clara tax. So right here, automatically, because I've set up that tax item, right? We got to take a look at that on last week in chapter 7. When you create your sales tax items, by you toggling what that tax is, it automatically showed up as 8.25%. Okay? And it automatically calculates what that is to your total sales that are supposed to be taxed at. So in this case, this $7 is based off of the $85 that you're being taxed because service items do not get taxed. Okay? And of course, you can write messages to your customers, right? In this case, I have a pre-written one. Thank you for your business, right? And you can add thank you for purchasing this. Have a wonderful day. Or you can even do your company slogan like keep on taking photos. I don't know. Or welcome to the academy, all right? Things like that. You can create any messages that you want to say to your customer, okay? And there you go. I decided to do this. Thank you for your business. And then once again, your memo. This memo is very important for your records, but also for the customer's records. So the important thing about this particular memo here is that this will appear on the customer's statement. Okay, and we'll get to take a look at how they want to have the statement, right? Do they want to have the details involved with this statement? Okay, and if they do, then you definitely want to keep that as a record. Okay, so the memo here is that I sold 3 hour outdoor photo sessions and 1 premium and 1 premium photo package. Okay. And once again, we recognize this is a taxable item, and then we can go ahead, click Save and Close. Okay, so now it's saying, oh, you have some changes to this particular person or particular item. So you could just go ahead and click OK. And once you get that beep of approval, your sales receipt is done. And what's going to happen is when, notice this, my little record deposits, you could see a 1 is there. Okay, because once again, when we'll talk about this when we get to the record deposits, but what happens when you receive a check? Okay, if you have a check in your hands, what happens to it? it's recorded into your record deposits. But can you tell me this? Is that check in your bank?
No.
No. So exactly how this is exactly functions, right? You collected the check, but that doesn't mean you have the money. You have to physically go to the bank, deposit all of those checks, and then you can confirm that it can now go into your bank account. So that's going to be at the end of the chapter. But other than that, that is how you go ahead and enter in a sales receipt. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. All right. So then we talked about how if you have those type of customers that pay after the time of sale or service. So in this case, exactly how we've entered in a sales receipt is going to be the exact 6 ways you can enter in an invoice, because these two are more or less similar to each other, because the idea here is that they are both your customers. They're both recording a sales. The only difference is one, you're being paid right now, and the other one, you're not being paid until later. So exactly how you can enter in an invoice is the exact same directions that you can enter in a sales receipt. So again, we have the home page, right? We have the customers on the menu bar, right? Entering an invoice, creating an invoice. You have the income tracker, right? That has the invoices as well. You have the customer center, right? So if I enter in my customer center, I can do that by entering a new transaction, right? You could create an invoice there. You can even right click on a person and create an invoice there. Or you could go to manage transaction and create an invoice there. So the person that I'm looking for is Mr. Bob Mason. And I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. So I click on Bob Mason and I'm going to go down to the bottom of the window and I'm going to go ahead and click on manage transactions. And I'm going to go ahead and click on invoices. Okay. So here it populates the invoice, right? Right. The yellow windows just tells you what's new. And I'm like, okay. So I can just click away. And here it populates that the person is Bob Mason. And I said yes. So then there we go. I click on tab. Now, here is where you can edit the information on each person's profile. So in this case, I'm going to associate Mr. Bob Mason as someone that purchases from our San Jose location. Okay, so when I save this, it's going to give me a message that says, hey, you updated a piece of information about your customer. Would you like to update it? And you're going to click yes. Okay, and we'll take a look at that when we finish this particular invoice here. So once again, I believe the date is the 28th. Okay, and of course, like I've mentioned before, right? Our invoice number is 2019-106. So therefore, here I've already, or in the previous one, or in before I entered this in, right? I've already created an association with this this invoice number, right? I've already initiated that my invoices are going to start with 2019-101. So in this case, I've already in this sample file, they've already created about 5 invoices. So this is invoice number 106. It's the 6th invoice of 2019. So now that I have this, once again, yes, I just want to make sure that this verifies in the book as well that I am creating invoice number 106. Now notice this, you have the billing date, or the billing address, and then you have the shipping address. This is where you can toggle whatever shipping address in case this customer decides to buy something and wants to ship it to a second location. So this is where when you enter in that information, or if you're going to create a new address, right, you can update the customer's profile at any given time. So if you need to update an address, then there you go. You can toggle it right here by saying, okay, maybe he wants to ship this gift to his niece. Okay, so you can create a second address right then and there, and you can toggle it through the actual invoice itself. Okay, and then of course, we gave, okay, so a PO number. So did we have a sales order associating with this particular invoice? So once again, this is where you make your estimates or your sales orders, right? You create a number, a particular item for them, or like a sales order. Then you can go ahead and put the sales order number that's associated to this particular invoice. But in this case, that's a little more, the book doesn't teach you about how to create your estimates or invoices. I'm sorry, sales orders. So in this case, I'm going to leave it blank. Again, we gave our customer a 2% discount if he paid within 10 days. If not, it is due in 30. His sales representative is Mike Wazowski. Okay, so here you get to see when the item gets shipped, or etc., etc. And there you go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and take a look at what items that they've purchased. So once again, he purchased one indoor, I think it was an indoor photo session. Okay, there it is, because he purchased one, there it tallies up how much. And then he also bought one standard photo package. So there you go, standard photo package, right? You can tab your way through this so then it's easier to fill in, but I like to click it just to ensure that this is exactly what I want. Okay. Once again, message to your customer, right? You want to say thank you for your business. And the memo is 1 hour indoor photo session with one standard photo package. Okay. And you want to make sure that his tax, right, is Santa Clara. So again, the more information that you plug in, it will start filling in the form for you. All right, so that's why QuickBooks makes it so much easier, because when we started, right, the whole form was blank, but the minute I added my customer's name in there, it filled in his address, his information, his, the terms, the representative, etc., 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 and even the tax codes on them. So once again, the more information you add into QuickBooks, the faster and quicker you can enter in your transactions. Okay, so as you can see, his total amount should be $154.54. Okay, now let's notice a few things over here as well. So on the right side gives you pretty much a history of how much this person owes you. So in this case, as you can see right here, we've created a couple invoices already for Mr. Bob Mason, and right here it shows us that the recent ones that we've made for him is in total, right? We've written one for $776. We also written one for $401. Okay, so as you can see, this gives you like a really quick overview of the history that you've created with Mr. Bob Mason. It even tells you this person has an account balance of $11.77. So this person already owes us a lot of money, and that's okay. So it gives us a little heads up of like what their transactions is. So this is pretty good, especially when you have a customer that's ordering too many things, but they haven't paid you yet. Then you can give a suspicion like, hey, are they going to pay us? They keep ordering all this stuff, but are they going to have us pay? Okay, so once we see that, we could go ahead and click that save and close. All right. Beep of approval. Oh, now notice this. When I click on Bob Mason, here you go. I see all the invoices, right? Invoice number 3947, invoice number 2009-104, and we just created our last invoice for the 106. Okay. Any questions how to enter in an invoice? No? Okay, so that was just creating an invoice, right, at a regular thing. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you is I'm going to show you how to itemize your actual invoices, right? This can be applied on the receipts as well, okay? Because when you actually enter in your items, right, you can choose to separate them, right? Or like if you've ever been to a store, right, and you've seen your receipt, you can see that each item is itemized, and if there's a discount, it will show you the item at its full selling price, and then right underneath it should give you a discount item line, and it tells you exactly how much it took off from your actual bill. That's exactly what I'm going to show you here. So I'm going to go ahead and I believe I'm going to create a invoice for the Sarah and Michael. Okay, so Sarah and Michael. I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So create invoices right here. Create invoices. Okay. So here we are, right? It says right here, this is the Anderson wedding planning for Sarah and Michael, right? And I'm going to go ahead and click tab for that, or click over into class. So there you go. It fills in all my information for me automatically. And once again, they are a San Jose location type of ordeal here. Okay, San Jose. Okay. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what they purchased from us. Okay. So they bought a camera. Oh, quantity is 3. Item is the camera, not the case, right? See, you can easily make a mistake right there by typing in a few things. But here, camera SR32, right? Those babies are going to be costing $600 a piece, okay? And they decided to buy a lens from us, a zooming lens. So LE, there you go. And once again, they purchased one. So therefore, their bill is coming up to be the $2,612.03, right? Because we plugged in all the information here. Now, like I've mentioned before, right? We can itemize our transactions. So let's say I want to give this customer a discount, right? Because they bought 3 cameras from us, or maybe I want to invoice them for the discount, or maybe today I have a promotional sale. So what I can do here is I can enter in the item, right? Because an item can include as such as a discount that you can provide to your customers. So in this case, I already have one right here that says 10% discount. And if I click on it and I go ahead and move away from it, notice this. What happened to my discount? What is it taking 10% off of?
The whole total, no?
Well, in this case, is $32.50 on my whole entire total?
No,
No.
just the lens.
No, it's only taking it off the lens. Okay, so that's what the item does this here for. It only, if you're doing a discounted item, right? It's only going to take the discount based on the line above it. Okay, so that's exactly why when you look at a receipt, right, and you purchase like maybe 4 or 5 things that are on sale, you're gonna notice is that they'll give you the full price of that item, and right under it is your discount item. Then the next one's gonna be the next item, and then underneath it, the next discount item. So that's exactly what this is telling me. This is telling me I'm only taking a discount off the lens. Okay, now the question is, how do I go ahead and create the discount for the entire amount? So I'm going to go ahead and clear that out. So there you go. I don't have the discount item anymore. So this is
I was looking at the subtotal it says, and then it has a 10% on the book, and that's why I said from the
good.
total amount. Sorry.
Good. No. That's why I wanted to show you so you guys can know and figure this out. Because the book only shows you what they tell you to do, right? I'm explaining why this happened. So the discount item is always going to associate with the item right above it. In this case, I can go ahead and use my subtotal line item. Okay. So once again, here, if I do subtotal, it gives me my grand total of my whole entire invoice right here, or my whole entire sales is for the $2,412, right? Because that's prior before tax. Okay, and then you can go ahead because as we know, right, if my discount item takes the discount off of the previous line above it, then that's where you can go ahead and say, well, now, why apply my discount now? It's going to take the line above it, which is my total subtotal amount, which is the amount that I owe or the amount that I'm charging my customer in grand total. Now it shows me that my 10% discount off my $2,412 is going to be for $241. Okay, and that's how you utilize the discount item. Okay, and that's also, we also got to take a look at your subtotal item too. Now, that is also, if you are planning to have sales on specific items, that's where you can toggle and show where you actually place the discount for. What if my discount was only on the lenses? Then I can just drop that line item right underneath my sales or my lens, and that's it, and call it a day. But in this case, the sale applies for the overall invoice itself. So there it is, and look, it automatically calculates for me my grand total, and it also includes the tax on top of that too. So now this person owes me $2,350.82. Okay. All right. So that's how we can create invoices with discounted or calculated items. Okay. Any questions there? No? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and click save and close. So once again, you made changes to this this person because we added a class to it. Would you like to save it? Yes. Right? Beep of approval. Okay. All right. So we got to take a look at those examples there. Okay. Let's see what is next. Next is okay, we can take a look at when a customer pays with, I believe, with a credit card. Actually, no, sorry, not pays. We're just creating invoices right now. So those are it as far as that. So let's take a look at how you can run your reports on open invoices, right? So I've mentioned before, right? If you go to the income tracker, that's where you're going to be taking a look at the invoices that you've created and the amounts that other people owe you. Okay? So there you go, right? We associated, right? If you notice the last transaction I added, right? That was invoice number 107. So for every invoice that you see here, right, this is once again your income tracker. It's going to keep track of all the money that you set aside for your customers to owe you. So in this here, it gives you a grand total that you have outstanding $7,000 that people owe you. And it shows here that which ones have made the payments and which one haven't. Excuse me. So once again, you can double click on them to view each invoice, but here is just a pretty quick overview of your invoices, and this is where you can add your transactions, right? You can select and see what you want to do with these transactions, right? Do you want to receive payments from them? Okay, so that's one way. Now, once again, the one that the book is trying to talk to you about is if you need to give a report or, because you can't print out your income tracker. So in this case, you're going to have to create a form that allows you to view your content in one sheet, right? So in this case, I'm going to go to customers and receivables, and we're going to go ahead and go to open invoices, okay? Once I click that report, right, you may need to toggle it. So here it says this, it says for today, I want to look at all. Okay. And here it's going to populate all the invoices and all the customers that are associated with every single invoice. And once again, this is in a report form, meaning that you can print it out. Okay. And maybe you could give this to your sales representative, or you could give this to, your sales representative, right? Whether it's Mike or whether it's the other employee. You could give them, you can run this report, or they can give it to you. Whoever who's in charge of the sales department itself, right? This could be very deemable as useful, because then you could say, well, I've created a total of 7 invoices, right? But how many of them have paid so far? Okay, so this is a great way to keep track of your customers as well as look at their information, right? So these 4 customers that I have here, or 5 customers, right? How much do they owe me, and what are their account balances? You'd be able to find it immediately. So once again, I have Anderson Wedding, I have Maria Cruz, I have Bob Mason, Miranda's Corner, and okay, yes, so I do only have 4. Okay, so there you go. And that's what I'm supposed to show you. Okay, so again, this is only useful if you are in the position of the sales representative and you want to know what the report is for the account balances in your accounts receivable. Okay, any questions? Okay. No. Oh, okay, good. I didn't close the program. So there you go. So once again, I'm just going to close out all my windows, and yes. Okay. Any other questions? Now, what I've actually remembered here is that, let's see, where is Jerry Perez? So I believe there he is, Jerry Perez. All right, and here he has a sales receipt. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at his sales receipt, because there's actually one thing I forgot to enter in. He signed us a check. What was the check number? The check number was, let's see, sales receipt. Check number 3459. Okay, so once again, I forgot to type in the check number, and you can edit the information at any given time, just like that. I just double click the sales receipt, and boom, there it is. Okay, I'm save and close, right? You may change to this, yes. Okay, so therefore that means if you have, for any reason, a customer decides to give you a call and say, hey, hold up, can you add in this transaction in there? And you've already created the invoice for them, but you haven't billed them yet. So for example, Mr. Bob Mason, right? We just created that invoice for him for the 106. We just created him that invoice today. So you can double click on there, right? And you can modify the invoice at any given time. Let's say he decided to buy another hour of photo sessions. You can edit any transaction at any given time. Okay? Any questions into that? So, for example, if he does call me and say, "Hey, I want to add another hour to my indoor photo session," you can modify it right then and there and just either bill him a new invoice. Most cases, you would typically either send a new invoice if you've already sent out this previously existing invoice, or you could actually just revise this one and make sure that you indicate it by saying this is the 2019 106 revised. So you could do an R to indicate that it's been revised, or you've made changes to this invoice. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying that what I want to show you here is that you can make changes to the invoice at any given time, whether it's adding more details, whether it's subtracting out more details. So let's say a customer decides to call you and say, oh, cancel this. Now, there's a process that you can do when you're going to be subject to be canceling your orders, okay? We'll talk about that in chapter 3. But when you're adding more stuff to an invoice, you can do it at any given time. Only rule is if you've already sent your invoice, most likely you're going to send a revised invoice so then the customer knows how much they owe us now. Or you can send them a separate invoice, right? Saying, okay, well, if you're going to order something new, I'm just going to create another invoice for you. And with that one extra item. So once again, it's your decision on what the company wants to do, whether you want to send a new invoice or just update a pre-existing one and just reissue out a revised invoice. Okay? Any questions there?